Roll off. Ooh, I lost a roll off. That's unusual.
Well, then you can do the outro.
Because you got a 5 and I got a 3. I think I've had to do the outro the last few times, unfortunately. And then I realise when I'm looking back at it, and I also do the intro. So for some reason, you get off scot-free when you win that. So I'm going to make you do the intro.
Yeah, we'll do the intro. Welcome to the podcast.
What's it called?
I don't know. It's
That's why I end up saying it, because I'm like, Robin's not introduced the podcast.
It is called Tip. I mean, I even came up with the idea. It's Tip of the Spear.
So that's why I was amazed you couldn't remember it.
This time we're going to be talking about erratas. You know what? Why didn't we go back and errata beginning and
we need to.
we can make it better. No, we're talking about erratas in Spearhead, and some good ones and some bad ones, and maybe some you might want to see for armies that maybe are a little bit too strong, and armies that maybe could use a little bit of a buff.
Yeah, so if anyone who doesn't know what errata is, it's where Games Workshop decide that something needs to be changed, and they change the rules of it. Unfortunately, it means that your books are out of date as soon as they've done it, but it always updates on the app, which is free, so that's always pretty helpful. So we're going to be debating that. But first, how's your Age of Sigmar play going there, Robin?
I suppose the big news is the disappointing news that our tournament got cancelled.
Yes,
so we did not get to go to that one, unfortunately. But
the one that, like, the last about, I think, 3 podcasts you've been going, well, I've been getting ready for this tournament, and practicing my list and building models.
Plus, it looked like a smaller local one, so there's a good chance we were going to do well in it.
I was banking on coming 5th out of 5. That's what I was banking for. Best ever result.
So, yeah, that was a little bit disappointing, unfortunately.
You did manage to have a game in preparation for that, though.
I did, and it ended in a draw.
So you were using your Stormcast against the Trog heavy list that I played a few weeks ago against the same person, our friend Luke. I have not been doing any 2K, which is why I was maybe a little happy when it got cancelled, thinking, well, I'm not going to have a bad game because I've not played in months. But I did have a league game in our local store's Spearhead League, which I managed to draw with my Blades of Khorne. I had a game where I felt like I did good at stopping Skaven doing a lot of Skaven things by locking up the cannon, but clan rats be clan rats, and meant that it was a draw in the end. So I'm currently undefeated, but sadly 2 of them are draws.
That could be a winning record, you never know. I haven't played any yet.
An unbeaten record is what I think I'm going for now. So, on to our today's little debate.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with, obviously, the erratas that have been done. We're going to look at the more positive ones first, and we're going to kind of go down the list.
So, as of recording this, there are 39 spearheads, which I'm like, bring one more out, please, just so it's a nice round number of 40. Nurgle, I suppose, will be the 40th. And there have been 19 erratas.
Yeah, so almost half, averagely.
Yeah, basically half. A couple of them, and we probably won't mention these ones, are just kind of slight wording changes or thing maybe they missed.
Yeah, just making rules a bit more clearer. There's some of them that have, like, this unit has the keyword reinforcements, like the Flesh Eater ones. The units are always reinforced. They forgot to print it at the bottom of the War Scroll.
Or Ynastra, that she is an infantry, and they never put that.
Yeah.
Obviously, she clearly is an infantry, but they just didn't put that in the keywords. So
technically is a debuff, because she could now be affected by
but
certain things that wouldn't. But that is obviously
she
that
should
was
have.
Just because obviously she doesn't say that she's like cavalry or whatever. So
monster, the monster hunter being a monster, shoot herself.
She needs to be a bit more.
Probably not do any damage.
She needs to be more consistent for that.
No, most monsters are inconsistent, I would argue. Maybe that's a whole different podcast. In terms of spearheads that we've seen that got a positive buff, we have Cities of Sigmar.
Yeah, they got quite a big buff, really.
I think they needed it, though. I think
they definitely needed it.
A lower spearhead, and maybe the changes didn't go far enough.
I don't know, because I've not played it. It would be interesting to see now, because I did generally think that spearhead was very lacking in a lot of things. And this does address a lot of that. Whether or not it's probably gone from bottom to middle. I'm not saying it's definitely nowhere near like top tier, but
I think my understanding, though, is that the Spearhead struggles, the one time I've played it, is because the Knights ran in and then didn't do any damage. They've still got a decent save, so you're not killing them quick. So having them reinforced, I don't know what that does, because they're probably, unless against something that can do a lot of damage or go straight to mortals, then maybe not dying quick enough for them to come back. It'd be
Yeah, they're probably not coming
meaningful.
back until maybe the last round.
Which could be good. A whole
Could be
unit
good.
of 5 of them charging in last round, even if they're not killing much, they're just taking something. But I question how impactful that is.
But on the flip side, if you have a rough game where something just comes in and smashes your only mobile unit turn 1, bringing it back, there's nothing to say it's not going to then do it again next round. But they also split the unit of 10 infantry into 2 units of 5.
I think that is a bigger
Yeah.
boost, because it just means you can score more cards if you end up with take the flanks.
Yeah. You can leave 5 behind to sit in front of the cannon, so there's something there at least. And then with both of them being reinforced, they can both come back. So again, you don't kind of have that awkward thing of, well, I've killed 8 of them, I can ignore the 2. You've got 5 and 5. Again, you could still kill 4 in one and 3 in another and leave them both, but just there's a bit more play in there.
Yeah, and you've always got the ability to retreat one unit out. If you've only got 2 of them, unless you happen to roll bad on your D3, you're probably dying and coming back. So yeah, I think that is a bigger boost personally.
Yeah, I think definitely. There was also something about wording on the battle trait.
The change was that it looked like you could only do their battle trait just once per battle, whereas it's once per battle round.
Yeah.
So I think obviously that is a big change for them, a big boost. Maybe that was just not worded right. Another army that had a very big boost was the Kharadron Overlords. And this one, I think, was more impactful, because I would say this probably took them from one of the worst to one of the best.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Giving basically the whole army the reinforced keyword, apart from the general and the big boat. I think needed, because
Yes.
I think they are a hard spearhead army, because you got to be on objectives to score points, but you don't really want your shooting army running up to take objectives. And if that's just wiped out, that's a whole load of impact you've got gone.
Especially when the main bulk of your army is, they don't have a bad save. I think they save on a 4, but only 1 health each, so a 5 health army ward. With no wards. So anything that can just do D3 mortals to it. The amount of times I played Kharadron, and you'll get to the end of it, and I have wiped both units of infantry and the balloon guys, and I've killed them both twice.
Yeah.
And you think, just imagine if they didn't have the reinforcement. Especially with them being quite a swingy army as well. Yes. It means they need those shots to do what they need to do.
And I think if they'd have done the change and just had the infantry ones back, it would have been good. But having the balloon ones, the ones that can have the mobility to get around the places when they come back in, and can then move out of that combat at the end of the turn and get on things, them coming back, I think, was probably the best thing.
Yeah, maybe even made them
too good.
Possibly, because they also that was the main big one, but they also made the bomb racks a little bit more consistent, which is a nice little buff. I don't think it doesn't change a great deal. I think it just went from
I think it went from D3 to D3+1.
Yeah.
And I think it is a once per game ability, so it is not like they're doing it every turn.
Yeah, it's not like.
So I think that was just a nice little change to help a struggling army. Yeah. But maybe they didn't quite anticipate how good the whole changes would be, I would say. An army that did have a buff, but maybe not a significant one, was the newer of the Stormcast Eternals.
Yeah, obviously it covers sort of, so essentially they could have a 5-up ward once per game, and they changed it to once per round now. So you can give it out a 5-up ward to any unit, which again that's one of Stormcast's main weaknesses. They don't have wards. They're very susceptible to mortals, so that's a very good thing for them. Doesn't solve a lot of the problems with the army. That's not particularly brilliant in combat outside of the general, who is a little bit swingy. So makes them stick around a bit more, but they've not got brilliant control score, so does it really matter about sticking around?
Anything that helps them to get away from any mortals, I think, is probably just a good thing.
Nice buff, but I don't think it makes too much of a difference.
An army that's actually had a kind of a buff and a debuff, interestingly, is the original Deepkin.
Yeah, which again we consider to be quite a weak one.
Yes.
And the debuff was worse than the buff.
So the debuff was...
So previously they could heal D3 to cavalry units. You've got 2 cavalry units. You've got the eels and you've got the shark. They've changed it to a once per turn timing now. If both of them are damaged, you can only heal one of them now. So you've lost the potential of D3, an extra D3 healing, which in an army that isn't, I suppose they're not bad defensively, but again, they've not got wards. So chip damage from mortals is quite bad for them. You lose an eel, they significantly lose that kind of damage potential, and the hero and the Namati Reavers aren't doing anything. They're paper thin. That's a big hit for them. And the buff was the hero's ability is cast on a 3+ now instead of a 4+.
Which is a nice change. Anything going from 50-50 to 2/3 is good.
An enemy that attacks you, you subtract 1 from wound rolls.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. It's a terrible ability.
Better than some, but
it's not like it's not
still
like
you are getting it on a 3-up.
It's not like they've done it to a 2-up.
Or just a passive that enemies attacking a -1 to wounds or something.
And they've got to be wholly within 12 when you're probably keeping your hero back and your cavalry's moving forward. Isn't impossible to do, but might not be the easiest thing to do in the world.
I mean, there obviously are more changes that have happened to armies that have improved them in different ways, but those are probably the main 3, and then obviously that funny one that's kind of a buff and a debuff. For changes that have really affected armies and made them worse, we've got the original Slaves to Darkness, which I didn't actually realise this until we researched this. So I must not have played them before they had this debuff, so it must have been a fairly early one, where they're...
What do you think they're called? Have a guess. Slaves to Darkness. Oh, they're literally just called the Chaos Knights.
So the Chaos Knights originally started on the board, the whole army did. They changed it so they come in from the second battle round.
Yep, second battle round. It's not a massive change. But I think the big thing about them is they have to be within 1 inch of an edge.
And I have watched games of a Nighthaunt denying someone bringing them in entirely.
Yes.
Which, when they have not got a lot of other things just on the board, and those are their main damage dealers, is awful.
And I have seen a Kharadron player also do that. Because you're thinking, 1 of an edge, because I also think they have to be in friendly territory as well. So only half the board.
And they're big cavalry bases.
Yes, they've got to cover a lot
5 of them.
Yeah, 6 inches away. That's a big space you've got to cover.
Don't think the original ones that are on the board are that damaging either.
No.
They are their chariot and the unit are tanky, but not enough that they can fight.
Nothing with
they
crazy
can't
damage.
Necessarily kill a unit, so that's freeing up a part of the board.
And also then they've got to be 6 away, so there's the potential you put them on, they miss that charge. And then likelihood is you charge them, because obviously the Chaos Knights are all about, they do plus rend and plus damage on the charge. So obviously they want to be charging. That's what makes them like crazy good. But then I could also see why maybe you don't want a first turn Slaves of Darkness where that's smashing into something and then all the tanky defensive stuff is just moving up, taking objectives. That would be a very strong army.
Yeah, I did. My first thought was, wow, they were crazy good at the start, probably too good. My thought is maybe that's gone a little too far.
Yeah, maybe you take... I believe they get 2 squads of infantry. Maybe do that with the infantry instead.
Yeah, because I have had games at the turn that they've dropped in, charged and decimated.
Yeah.
But then I would argue that ones that start off with everything on the board, like Blades of Khorne and like Soulblight Gravelords, they both have impactful cavalry units.
Yeah.
That can just do exactly what you said they were trying to stop. They just getting the first turn, charging in and killing stuff. I feel like that's where you got to screen your army. And
if they get a charge, they become rend 2 damage 2. They're also 4 health, saving on a 3. Obviously, the companion attacks are so-so. I think they probably are the best cavalry unit in the game.
I mean, I don't think they made that spearhead unplayable.
No.
But it must have definitely, again, I didn't play it when it was original, but it must have definitely nerfed it quite a bit. Yes. Another one that had a buff which I think needed it, and I would say maybe didn't quite go far enough is the Gloomspite Gitz, which I would probably regard as up there as one of the best, if not the best.
Yeah, definitely top 3.
They changed it so one of the Boing Rock Bounty units come in from the 3rd battle round.
Yep.
Rather than the whole army starting off on the board, which I agree with that change. I think that definitely helps playing against some that they've got less things on the board from the start.
Yeah, but even saying that, as we've said sometimes, stuff coming in late isn't always a bad thing. It means that you can, in that later games where stuff's just kind of stuck in combat, you've got something that you can put kind of wherever you want.
I think they've got to be on your side of the board.
Yeah.
They are not a fighting unit. They are a boing around, do some damage over people. They necessarily aren't being put down and charging in straight away. But like you said, they're coming down late on. They're not great saves. So you've not like you could have lost them early and that's them gone. And they can just annoy late on. So I think a good change.
Yeah.
But not a
I'd say overall a debuff. But like we said, maybe not enough. Maybe they should have done both the units.
I wouldn't have said both the units. I'd have said one of the unit of stabbers and the Boing Rock Bounders. So they've still got the Trogs. They've got one unit of stabbers. They've got the hero and they've got the other Boing Bounders. So they've kind of got every little bit of everything. I mean, if I was being really mean and I really wanted to nerf the army, I'd make them put the Trogs in from the 3rd battle round. Or maybe even 2nd.
I think that breaks the army too much. If you've got a decent army that can kind of go in and smash, like you said, not a lot of the stuff there's got any kind of saves. They'd really struggle, and they're not going to. What's going to do damage?
The hero. That's what I've learned. The heroes pop off and do a lot. In our game, which is out, so people can watch it. My general popped off and did a fair bit.
Yeah, they can do. I was thinking potentially Trogs healing your turn, not every turn, or maybe they only heal in sort of make the moon more important, give them more of their abilities based around being in the moon. So it kind of makes it harder for the army to be really good.
So right now they get +1 to saves when they light the bad moon. Maybe just the healing when they remove that because they don't need it, and just make it into they get the healing if they're in the light of the bad moon.
And the stabbers maybe, because obviously the thing about the stabbers is they just combo them with the Trogs. Nothing's killing the Trogs, and then everything's -1 to hit as well.
And then they could get buffed control score as well. You can bring some back. I think they're just like the ultimate combinations. That's why I feel like maybe you've got to change it, because if you've only got one unit of stabbers and
it makes it you've got less stuff. You've got that one unit that sticks with the Trogs. That means you haven't got the other unit, the throwaway unit, to just sit on an objective and block it out.
Yeah.
Maybe then.
I don't know. I just feel like they need something, because whenever I go to competitions, they are taken multiple times and they are normally in the top few. So you need to do something to them. I don't want to break the army, but...
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think if you took the Trogs off them, that would break them.
The Soulblight Gravelords had... I mean, I think if you just say it, it sounds like a very small debuff, where their mechanic works for returning models, that they, in the combat phase, they roll a number of dice, the number of models of skeletons that have died. 5s and 6s, they bring one back. It's never really helped me when I've used them, unfortunately, but it can be very impactful if you just have a really hot roll and get a lot of them back. They changed that so it is just in your combat, not any combat.
So you can play around that a lot easier. You can look at it and go, well, I know they're not healing this turn, so go heavy into them and try and wipe the squad. Or you go, well, I know they're healing this turn, so there's not much point, and you can focus it otherwise.
But it is a combat one, so I think they have to do the healing before any combat's happened.
Yeah,
so that's when I kept on not really getting a buff from it, because I would go first, because I always win the roll-offs.
Yep.
I go first, I go up. So I've got an undead, we fight, it's now their turn.
Yeah.
And I've lost a few now, but I'm not getting to roll. Originally, I'd be getting to bring some back. Now I'm not. They then attack, and then either the unit's wiped, or
there's so many of
some of them are died, and I'm only rolling 5 or 6 dice, and I'm maybe rolling 1 or 2 5s and 6s.
Yeah.
So that's 2 skeletons in across 3 turns is not impactful, particularly. So we know people who have been unhappy about. I think any time any change happens to an army you really like, it does feel a little personal. It does feel a bit like they've ruined my army.
Yeah, but
I'm waiting for the day that Nurgle gets changed and they ruin Nurgle for me.
So am I.
I think that was maybe a fairly minimal change to a already good army. The last change, which I think was probably one of the most impactful, was the Ogre Moor tribes. So they added one of the units of the Ogre Gluttons getting in from the third battle round, as well as their 2 other units then.
Similar to the Slaves one, where probably needed something, because that was a lot of stuff. Gluttons, one of the things about Gluttons are they're just very hard to chew through. They've got a lot of health, a lot of abilities that are like rolling double the health, and if you exceed that, it's very hard to do against Gluttons.
And they hit hard. If they roll hard, they hit hard. 2 units of them running around, maybe running around together, that's a lot of dice doing damage. So I can understand why they made the change.
Plus, General can buff their control score. They're already on a full unit, having a control score of 6, which beats a lot of kind of mid-level infantry units of 5. Obviously, doesn't beat the squads of 10, but the likelihood is they're probably killing a few of the squads of 10, and the squad of 10 units probably not killing one of them. So, very good little fighty units.
Yeah, not slow either. 6-up moves, not slow. So I do think maybe the army did need a change. Maybe a little bit like their new Spearhead, when they're like, you get this unit from this battle round, this unit from this battle round.
Yeah,
maybe they should have dripped and drabbed them and been like, the other unit of the Gluttons in the second.
Yeah, that maybe would have been a bit fairer.
Yeah. And then even if they then went them in the second, I don't know, the cannon in the third, maybe the cavalry in the
maybe
third,
the cannon in the fourth.
Yeah.
Because at the very least, unless you set it up badly, you'll be able to shoot.
Come down and shoot, sitting on objective.
Or maybe let you pick. Basically, you've got these 3 units. You can pick one of the 3 each round.
That'd be quite cool. I quite like that. Because then it depends on how your game's going. If you want a shooting unit, you want a cavalry unit, you want an infantry unit. That'd be really cool. I like that.
It gives a bit more tactic to them.
And it means people can block out less of the board, because they've got to get 3 units down. All of them have got pretty big base sizes. By the third battle round, armies with lots of units can block out large parts of the board. If they're only getting 1 in each time, it's harder for them to do that. So again, the other armies have had nerfs. Let us know if one of your favourite armies have and how it's affected your play. But those are some that we identified were probably the most impactful changes.
Also, Games Workshop, we still accept checks. If you'd like to make any of these changes we've suggested.
Well, maybe they need to listen to this bit first, because now we want to say some changes that we would like for both buffing and debuffing current Spearheads. Would you like to go first?
Yeah.
Go for which ones we think need debuffing.
I mean, I know we said it. We said it was a really big buff, but maybe you'd rebalance the Kharadron.
I think just as simple as taking off the reinforced unit from the balloon ones, I think would be a debuff that would hopefully balance them out and make them an average instead of a top.
Or maybe you can only bring one of the squads of infantry back. So it can be either of them, but you can only bring one of them.
Only one time can any be brought back. Yeah. I would nerf Nighthorn. And it would just be as simple as they don't get all the models on from the start. Yeah. I do feel like I don't know why that isn't, or even if it was just one chain rasp unit, so their weakest unit coming in from the third battle round. Yeah. I just don't see why they get so many units. And I know they aren't necessarily the most combat units, and they don't necessarily damage, and the whole thing is they just sit there and don't die. But I don't think it would be too big a nerf to take one out, but I think it would just push them down a little bit. Yeah. Because I think any changes, we can't change anything fundamentally, because you can't change how a unit attacks.
I want to add Usheran to the Nighthawk, to the Flash Eater box.
Or you just go, Blight Kings now have a 6-up save. Or, I think you can't change how units fight and their general stats. But just taking away a unit on the board, I think, is a good nerf to a strong unit.
That's a good shout, that is.
I mean, the latest Nighthaunt one, they have a unit that comes in later. So they're not adverse to having the Nighthaunt with slightly less on the board.
I might say to the Skaven ones, actually, that bringing the rats back, you've got to pick one unit, make it a once per turn. Still keep it on both, but
I think that would be a very good change, because I think they maybe are the best infantry of a 10 block unit, that there is in the game, and the fact that both of them get it and can get D6 if you choose that. I think and that doesn't sound like a big change, but I think that will be enough just to knock them down that little bit.
Because, I mean, half the time when you do the ability anyway, it's like, I've got 2, I rolled 6. Great.
Yeah. But I think just having it that you can only do that with one unit would just mean that...
You've got to be a bit more strategic with them. You can't just throw them in and go, well, they'll come back.
And the amount of times I'm in combat with them, I'm like, it's literally, there's no point in me even rolling this dice, because I'm going to kill 1 or 2. You're going to bring that back. Like, we've had games before when you just not even taking them off the board. You just put them at the side and been like, well, they're coming back in a second. I'm like, yeah, they are. Yeah. Fair enough. So I really do think that they need something that just newts that. Can't completely do it, because that is Skaven.
Yep.
But just affects it a little bit. On the spirit of nerfing our own favourite armies, I would give Nurgle a slight debuff. And it's probably only a slight one. But what I feel like is their ability in that third battle round for the 2 units to come in anywhere makes for a slow army, just gives them that mobility they just don't have.
Yeah.
So I would make it either only on their side of the board, because a lot of the time I like to let people come out to me and then pop my fly and pop my play bearers at the back, or 1 inch.
Yeah, I think 1 inch, because it could be very, very easy to screen them out. And like I say, while that would ruin the army. But I think making it within 1 inch kind of balances that. Yes, you can still jump on an objective depending on the map and whatever.
Yeah.
It makes it harder to have those central charges in.
And as much as Games Workshop aren't listening, we're fine. Please don't do this change, because I will be grumpy if you do. I do think maybe they need a slight nerf.
So we've ruined everyone's armies now. So how are we going to improve ones? I've got mine.
Okay, you go first. I went first.
So I play Flesh Eaters in the main game. They're like my main army. Really like them. Hate the Spearhead. It's terrible. It's only good against select few Spearheads that have a lot of infantry. And it's a very hard one to improve without fundamentally changing them. I think the only thing you could realistically do is, I think, give the Knights reinforcements.
When you say it, I instantly go, yeah, but they're so good. Like, they shouldn't get it.
But they're swingy.
But I don't even think it's that. But I think maybe just the ability to throw them into a combat you're not worried about. If you lose a few, that suddenly they're not doing anything, because you can keep them in that combat, hope they die, and then bring back a whole unit. So I can see how that would appeal and make them better. Whereas now if you lose a few, that's them gone.
If you have a bad combat, they only have 3 models. Most cavalry units have 5.
Yeah.
They don't roll a massive amount of dice. That's the problem. They can be quite impactful, but they also can... I've had plenty of times where they've done nothing. Ideally, you need to make the heroes tankier, but there's no way to do that without fundamentally changing.
I think that is the thing that you struggle with most, is they need the deeds, but often against a good army that don't kill enough, or they just die themselves. Okay, here's one. Give the... I know none of the Spearhead games, I don't think a hero has the reinforced unit. Give the
Varghul.
Give the Varghul reinforced, because I
was thinking that
he is really good, or he's really not. Then at least the times he's not, he's coming back.
I get what you're saying. I did think that, but if he comes back, he's coming back with no deeds, and your general's never getting 6 deeds, because if he's in combat with anything, he's dead. The only thing that makes the Varghul a bit better is he has a little bit more health, so it is hard to physically do enough damage to kill him in a combat.
And his whole thing.
Whole thing, he can retreat and heal. And if he's in combat with the right thing, he will probably just about get his 6 deeds. The general's not doing that. So if he's coming back, is he coming back with his deeds? Probably not, because it's a new unit and everything like that. The only other thing I could think is maybe give them a better way for them to generate deeds. They've got a spell.
But like we said, that kind of fundamentally changes how they play.
I mean, you could literally there's an ability where they get to roll a dice for every unit on a 4 up. They get a noble deed. You could maybe just, after battle round 2, you can just do it. And then potentially, if you roll well, you've just got your 6 deeds on your general. That might be another way to improve that one. And that way it doesn't fundamentally change the army too much.
We probably are going a little bit like personally and the ones that we've been most affected by. But then obviously we know them the best, and we know that probably need a bit of help. But for me, Fire Slayers is one. I would say just in general, their biggest weakness is they're all infantry, and they're all basically the same models. And I don't think you can change anything about that without just going, here's a Magmadroth in this. But as you can't change what's in the Spearhead box. It's in the Spearhead box. That's it. You can't be like, you have to play the Spearhead as long as you buy a Magmadroth as well. So I do think that they need some help. For me, it will be making their battle trait with the Urgold, because the bonus abilities with that are really good. The standard ones are still fine. So you've got +1 to hit rolls, +1 to rend, everything having a 5 at ward, and +2 to movement. All of those are really good things.
Yeah.
But the boosted ones are add 1 to the attack characteristic, add 1 to damage, add 1 to saves, and add 2 to charges. All of them are crazy. I have probably had around 5 or 6 games with Fire Slayers. I have only twice in 5 games rolled a 6 and got the boosted one.
I mean, if you wanted to literally go on averages, technically there's a chance you don't get it every game, because it's a 1 in 6 chance and you only roll it 4 times.
So you can go with their ability to re-roll it,
which makes it a 1 in 5.
But it's a re-roll. You're choosing that over another ability, and that's your general's got to be alive. I think they need something where it helps get that. I was thinking maybe add the battle round to what you roll. So the first battle round is basically on a 5 or 6. Second battle round, it's on a 4. Third, it's on a 3, and last, it's on a 2. I mean, it might be your army's dead anyway by that stage. It doesn't matter. But just helping your army guarantee those better.
I think that's a pretty solid one, because like you say, it's not like it makes you broken from the beginning. And realistically, if you've got your whole army left in the 4th battle round, you've probably won anyway. It kind of, in that middle ground, it might give you that boost where if you've maybe had a bit of a bad round or two, you can take it over the edge. And I think that is actually probably a very good, solid improvement without breaking the army.
Because I think they're just generally a swingy one anyway. And obviously, if you do roll a 6 and get any of these currently, you're probably going to have a really good turn, depending on what it is and what the situation is. But not getting consistently not getting it off for a whole game really affects the army. If you could just not guarantee, but have a good chance of getting it off half of the time, I'd be very happy. Even if they change it to a 4-up.
Maybe every failed one gives you a bonus or something.
Yeah. So maybe not plus the battle round, but plus each failed one, you get a plus to it. So again, later on, if you've not had it, you get the plus. But if you've had it 2 in a row, you're still needing the 6 for the 3rd time. Maybe
something like that. No, I think adding the battle round, it kind of creates a tactic in itself where it's like, cool, well, I'll use that rune now because if I get the bonus one, I'm not bothered. But in battle round 4, I really want, you're probably going to want your ward in the 2nd battle round because that's when everything. So you're not going to maybe use it.
And the +1 to saves isn't that much better when you're saving on a 6 anyway, saving to a 5. But the time that you want to do +1 to rend, +1 to damage, you really want that one.
Yeah. So I think that's probably actually just a really, really solid and good one.
Another army that I just think needs help is the original Ossiarch Bone Reapers. And again, this is just a simple change. Let them have the whole army from the start.
Yep.
Why does Soulblight get all of their skeletons and it's an army with a better hero, a better cavalry unit? I know the Bone Reapers have got their big monster, but I found him to be very swingy. I don't see why they need to not have the whole army from the start. Just a little change, and I think that would make that army probably not top tier still, but nice and middle, not near the bottom.
I would also give Sun's General the reinforcement. But he comes back as a normal giant.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
Because
I like that.
Everyone's always going to go for the general first.
But but I like that in the tactical play that you got to protect your general, send the other 2 up.
But like I say, he just doesn't come back with his enhancements.
Yeah, I quite like that actually. Because I mean, they're still only getting 1 a turn. It's not like you're going to be like, I killed 2 giants this turn, 2 are coming back next turn. They're coming back 1 in the next turn, 1 in the turn after. I think that is actually a really good change. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah. A very simple one. You could maybe play it quite well and just send one in, die, come back, send
one in. But you could do that anyway.
You could do that.
You could do that anyway, couldn't you? You can send one of the ones that comes back in, dies, send the other one that comes back in, dies, send your general in. You're on the fourth battle round now anyway. It doesn't really matter. I think that's a nice change. I mean, I thought you were going to suggest when he dies, Brod just comes on the board. No. That's what I thought you were going to go for. No. I don't think you'd get him 6 away.
Duncan, we've got to leave some for our audience to suggest. If there's any improvements or any debuffs that you want to give to us that we can sell to Games Workshop as our original ideas.
Yeah, so any armies that you've experienced that need a bit of help or need a bit of debuffing and changing, be really interesting to see what you think if you've had a similar experience to us about the ones we've mentioned or ones that we've just not even thought about.
So, what's the outro, Duncan?
How can I debuff you?
I can't debuff my rolls.
Maybe, there you go.
I need a buff.
There you go.
I get +1 to my
priority rolls.
No, my buff is anytime we draw in a priority roll, I win.
I think that will be a fair buff to give to you. I want you to be like Deepkin. I'm going to give you a debuff as well. What are you really good at and you need to be debuffed out of? Being salty. You've got to somehow be debuffed from that. I don't know how we do that.
Does that mean I'm more salty or less?
No, less. Anytime you're salty, I remove 1 point from your score. So we're going to finish. It's going to be like 15-0 to me.
50 -47.